There we are. Hey, I'll speak to you soon. As one starts to build their connection with their true self, either in meditation or through the work that they are undertaking. And also, as one starts to get closer to the true connection to their spirit, to their spirit guide, their spirit essence. When you are practicing a certain modality, one should approach this connection with love, patience, trust, and excitement. With approaching the truth of you, or the truth of your connection to come, with these qualities in mind and in heart, the ego starts to be rejected and the sense of self accepted. And this is seen in a story that I will portray to you of a great teacher that existed and taught his students each day on the matters of life and the progress that they are making. And one day he sought to test his students. And just before the event was to occur, he asked for the doors to be closed and no one to be admitted. And the students started to gather outside. And when they were told that he had closed the door and none are to be admitted, many walked away. But a few stayed with the truth, the love, and excitement in their being. And after a short period of time, he opened the doors and delivered the teaching one more time. You see, the door to your true connection, be it the truth of you or to the truth of what you are learning, will take some trust, some perseverance. It'll take you some realization of the obstacles that can present themselves, and you do not see them. Just because a door is closed does not mean your teacher is not on the other side of it. And your practice is one of enthusiasm, love, and trust. So what would an obstacle do to that? Do you truly want your connection to self or to a guide or an inspirer that will help you to help others? Do you want that? Are you going to be turned away by the slight difficulties that one may perceive along your path? Or are you going to be held true with truth, love, and enthusiasm? As you are dedicating yourself to the progress you are making, then the teacher on the other side is also dedicating themselves to you. The presence of your teacher will come close to you. And yet all you may observe is the obstacle that is in the way. And with your perseverance, you will push through that obstacle and would be allowed in. If you are true, you'll be given what you have asked for. If you have love in your heart, you'll be ready to be given what you have asked for. So it is not just with your mind that you request, it is with your heart also. And it is beyond these. Your sense of energy, your sense of vibration, the sense of your inner self. So if you were meditating and your mind becomes rather active, thoughts are constant, and it is tempting to get up and walk away. And even if you returned the next day and the next day, if you constantly submit to the strength of the thought, your work will never be done. You see, the truth is there is no door that we make. There is only the door that you make. And you say it must be special to at least touch the door or perceive of a door. And therefore, you create the boundaries, the inhibiting factors to your true self. You create the problems, the fears, the difficulties, the inabilities to connect to your guide, to your higher self, to your spiritual essence. You are creating your blocks. They are fiction, but to you they are real. You believe in them, and therefore they're as tall as a mountain and as wide as an ocean. But if you were to see through them with a little bit of knowledge and a dedicated heart, one will see that these blocks, these inhibiting factors, are just a smokescreen to what is true. And a mere puff of your breath would blow it away and reveal the beauty. And the beauty is not there for some, but for all. It is not there just so you can have a dream. It is not fictional. But in your mind, which world is more true? The one I can touch or the one I cannot touch? Can you see how important the physical world is to prove your truth of what you want? And the physical world seems to be in your way and disturb and hold you back, constantly pulling you to the needs of the physical world. Yet if you were dedicated and true, you would look through the door and see the reality. And then you change positions and sit on the other side of the door, or so it looks, and you review the reality in the opposite direction. And the physical world then looks so different. It has changed. It is so beautiful and yet so unsatisfactory, so rich and yet so flat. so much a plaything where once it meant all. If you but know your truth, then there is no veil. There is no bridge. There is no pain. If you know your truth, your ignorance has gone and your love is present. The beauty that is in your heart calls you now. You know what I am talking about. The truth of you is calling you now. And what does it ask of you? What does this Paul ask you to do? It says trust and love and prepare to meet God. And if that is what you want, and if you are truly ready of heart, of mind, of stillness, then the great reveal will happen for you. But mankind likes to build brick walls. It says it likes to take walls down. But the truth is, it forever creates ever bigger walls, internally and externally, and divides and says, there is a them and there is an us. There is those which know and those which do not. The not good enough and the elite. So as that ego starts to build and the separation starts to be felt, those who are ready receive their call. And that little call, somewhere in there, gets louder, more compelling. And you do not know why or where it comes from. Yet you listen to this voice, and it is yet so meager, and the world is so tall. But you listen to the subtlety. And even if you are swamped in the mud of life, that little voice is still there, maybe a little quiet. But the compulsion to change is with you. And it will never leave you once you have found it. No matter how difficult your life will be, it will never leave you. Because this is the breadcrumbs that will take you home. And you must follow those breadcrumbs with joy and with love, with trust, openness, enthusiasm, excitement. Do you not find that when you are journeying home in the physical sense? And do you not go home willingly? But if you change the word home to love, the breadcrumbs are breadcrumbs of love. Scattered all around you, yet you may only perceive of a little one here and a little one there. Yet love is scattered all around you. So much so that the breadcrumbs start to become one, and love becomes one. Love not for the elite, but for all. Love not for the ones on one side of the wall or the door, but for all. Those who build their walls and their doors will one day have to take them down. All structure is impermanent. To that little call in your being, you should love. You should trust. And you should see where it follows you. So let's take a pause. May I have the healing list of names now, please?
Yes. Carrie and Susie, Teresa Neal, Ross, Sharon, Bill, Jody, Nicole, Julie, Helen, Howard, Nancy and Larry, Jody, Holly, Denise and Steve, Jet and Ricky B, Kathleen and Ann, Stephanie and Claudio, Sawyer and Sharon, Jim and Michaela, Tamar and Jonah, Mitsuki, Don, Eric, Stephen, Matthew, Mirabai, Danielle, Louise, Marianne, and Jody. And may all be peaceful. Thank you.
In this series of talks, we're talking about heavier emotions or attributes which one can have or has had or will have, which holds them back and you feel like you are grounded fully in the earth. And last week we spoke about shame and said how shame can be so strong and so heavy that it separates you or potentially separates you from the rest of the world. Now, guilt can be similar. Guilt is also a learned attribute, or one learns the way to feel guilty, perhaps from society, from family or friends. One learns this ability to hold back and to feel guilty. And guilt, if one strongly believes in it, and it becomes even bigger, one says it is not guilt, it is sin. And because I have sinned, I must punish myself. And then there is self-hatred. There is the lack of esteem or self-worth. There is the separation that one wants to hide from the world and says, I hope they do not find. And often it is seen by people who lose or sacrifice their sense of themselves. As guilt becomes ever stronger, the original pure self gets left further and further behind. So this person may then become a people's pleaser or a peacekeeper, may find loneliness even within large groups, constantly striving to do what others require or what would make others happy. They resist the guilt that they have inside. And the guilt is based in this false belief on an activity that once took place. That they did something or didn't do something which they deserve to be punished for. And the relationships around them, rather than helping them see the clarity of what occurred, reinforce that guilt or sin and self-punishment. And therefore one lives a life of trying to please others. And it is based on an event, or maybe a few events, which one does not see clearly. This guilt can build into resentment, as one must care for others but resents doing so. The guilt feels so strong and so real that now one holds their head in a downward position and walks looking at their feet or the floor. And this attitude means it's reinforced. As one believes it, it's reinforced with further behaviour that seems to justify the position. But this self-punishment and self-hatred feeds the ego. And the ego gains more separation because that's what it thrives upon. It gains more individuality in terms that no one else has this behavior or belief. The ego, I am separate to you and no one would understand, no one has had or done what I have done, means one is forever lonely. And the true self seems hidden away. And the false beliefs based in the heaviness of guilt, where self-punishment needs to be changed to self-forgiveness. You see, the event that occurred which originated this is based in false perception. A mistake happened, which then becomes an error, which then becomes a sin. But the mistake was based upon what you knew then. what you wanted then, what the needs of the world was then. It's based on the past, and it is retained and strengthened throughout the rest of life. But you only did what was right according to your beliefs at that time. There is no need to build any further resentment over that. In fact, no resentment is ever justified, no matter what another has done or what you have done. It is never justified to be retained. So our work is, depending on how strong your guilt is and how deep you want to look into it, our work is to love, self-love, forgive, self-compassion. Understand that you made a decision on that day based on what you knew that day. Each person will make a mistake. Those in guilt hold and wear and carry the mistake forevermore. So your work is then self-love, self-care, looking deep within to find the layers of belief upon belief upon belief. And all of these are false. They are a mind thought that you should not, you cannot, you do not, you will not. And they create ever stronger barriers that one day you must tumble down. All this guilt and heaviness holds one very much based in the lower chakras. And you need an experienced guide or teacher or helper for you to look into these layers and to dust them away. Guilt starts mild, but if retained, becomes very strong. And eventually will feel like a blanket that weighs over you if you're not careful. Yet society uses guilt as a form of punishing other people and makes others guilty because you didn't run as quick as what you should. You don't look as youthful as what you once did. This guilt and resentment makes you worse. It does not make you strong. So the opposite to guilt is forgiveness. Forgiveness as one looks closer. Now you cannot say, I forgive me, and then that is done. It must be done, just as one sits outside the master's room with love, with excitement, with trust. As you look deeper into these issues and start to ease or pull up the weeds, dig out the roots. And guilt, like shame, has its roots which go throughout your life in many different directions. It will affect your work, your private life, your life with yourself and with others. your friendships. And if you carry sufficient guilt, you will find your friendships are either small or not genuine. Isn't it time that this false chain around your ankle is cut free? If you hold guilt and resentment, it can lead to bodily issues. So guilt developed in your early teenage years may spring up in your 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond. So guilt is no more than a false wall that one believes in and reinforces. Yet you will have all experienced this. If you have not, you are doing so now, or you will be in your future, this life or next. So part of your achieving the true connection to yourself or to your spirit guides is the cleansing of oneself, the cleansing of hidden beliefs and thoughts. At some times, this is easily done, other times it is harder. Do you want to continue the rest of your life living with that guilt? Do you want to carry that burden? Are you true to your path? Do you wish to release it? So ego's life, the false life of the ego, is based also in judgment. I judge you and I judge me. And that judgment builds the ego and makes it stronger. But if there was no judgment, and that mistake that you made many years ago was seen, well, today or that day was not my day. And without the added burden of additional thoughts and the reinforcements of judgment, then the lightness of your life, the lightness of your energy, the lightness of your shoulders, the ability to just put down. I could have done better, but I did as much as I thought was right then. Means the past can stay in the past. The present can be brighter. And the future, well, that'll lead you according to where you must go. So if you have not had or have not started yet your practice of self-love and self-care first thing in the morning, then it is time you start. A little bit of love of oneself. That starts with the love of the physical self. Then the inner or the mental self, the heart self, and the true self. They are all but false doors or blocks or veils that are in the way. And as each veil drops away, reinforced by love, by enthusiasm, by trust, then you will be given what you ask for. And you will be ready to receive the truth. To let your practice be one of self-care at the level where you are. See that this guilt was a learned behaviour in how one should feel guilty and is based on a simple mistake which was back in your past, and it does not need to rule your present. See how that simple mistake is the spider web through your life and occurs here and there. Will this work, will it not reveal your guides? Will it not reveal life in the unphysical? Will it not reveal the truth of spirit? Will it eventually reveal the truth of all creation? And you can sit in the purity of love and look down upon the earth and see it as a new reality. So the wise teacher in our first story is the true you. Let the true you be here. Dust, cleanse, clean, release, let go. You don't need that. And you will feel brighter and lighter and more connected. That is the truth of spiritual connection. Until next week. Be free. Be unencumbered. And love oneself. God bless you all.